Hi, this is Caitlin,
And this is Gabri.
and welcome back to AvengeGirls and Friends.
We're here for our kind of final, but
Sort
not
of.
really episode of our Fast and Furious season. We're still working out the details of like when we're going to do what we're going to do next month and when we're going to do F9. So we'll keep an eye on like our Twitter for that. We'll
Yeah,
we'll let you know when we
we'll
figure
figure
it
it
out.
out. Yeah.
But yeah, so it's kind of the last episode of the Fast and Furious season and also kind of not because there are more movies.
Yes.
So,
Yeah, and one that's coming out like relatively soon.
yes, it'll be the first movie I go see in a theater like post-pandemic. I'm
Can you
excited.
believe that? Yeah.
Right?
Fucking crazy. Oh, to be in a theater again.
Mm, you keep talking about conventions and I'm like super nostalgic. I'm like I want to go dress
Yeah.
up
I
and do
I miss
stuff.
it so much, and like logically, it's going to be much longer, I think, before we can do that again, which is sad.
On like that scale,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah. But fingers crossed. Anyways, Fate of the Furious.
Yes.
I want to, if you are amenable, I would like to start the conversation just by getting your like initial thoughts of the movie as a whole, because as I've mentioned previously, this is my least favorite of the eight. I really don't like it in general, and I need to know
This
your
movie
opinion.
is insane.
Yeah.
My opinion is that this movie is ridiculous. So like in terms of like the things that happen in it, I know like we've joked multiple times. We've talked about like how the whole running joke of the franchise is like, oh, they're gonna go to the moon next and
Yeah.
everything. Like it just continues to escalate. Like and I think I've mentioned this before, but it really is like such a gradual escalation that it
Yeah.
ends up making sense and
Yeah.
not being totally surprising. So like this really was the culmination of all that. So like I wasn't surprised on that level, but I was like there were several points and this might have been like the post vaccine brain fog talking, but I'm like what is happening? Like it felt
Yeah.
much more disjointed
It
than
is.
the
I
other
agree.
installments
Yeah.
in my opinion. And I like the one instance I can think of is that, Helen Mirren's there all of a sudden. And I'm
Yeah.
like, when did that happen? And then she left. I'm like, where did she go? I want
Why
her
was
to
she
come
here?
back.
Yeah.
Like, please. And then she did come back, which was good, but like I totally thought they had forgotten about her.
And
Like I just
yeah.
assumed that they weren't going to bring it back and I was going to have to like rag on them for it. It felt pretty disjointed to me. Um and I feel like I totally like lost the thread of the plot. Like I
Yeah.
said, I definitely somehow missed how Dom arranged things for like the rescue mission.
I don't think
Like
you, yeah, I just don't think you're supposed to see it, which is annoying in some ways.
okay, because it felt like there were bits that were being like revealed kind of like ocean style,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
of like how they set things up, but like I had missed where that happened earlier somehow.
Yeah.
So yeah, that might be my own fault though.
No, I think it's a part or a fault of the script. Like I feel like they tried to make sure that you didn't know that Dom was gonna like do a double betrayal. You know what I mean? Like back on Cypher.
Okay,
Which
but
like
like,
yeah,
were they watching the same movies that we have been? Because
beforehand.
please, like, if
Yeah.
he didn't, like, that would be a whole other
It would
thing
make no
that we would
sense.
have to talk about.
Yeah.
Ugh,
But I think that's what the script was trying to do, maybe, is like,
possibly.
hide all of these like things that Dom was, and you kind of, I mean, you get a hint that something is happening when he, puts the car with the hood up and he's like, oh, give me 5 minutes. And then he manages to like talk to Helen Mirren and convince her of something, you don't know what, in 5 minutes.
Yes, no,
Yeah.
I know, but the thing I missed was like, how did he arrange that?
I don't know. How did he get
That's what I'm.
5 minutes?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
That's
like,
right.
that's so specific. Okay. Okay,
Like,
so
how
I
did he
did, that
fall?
wasn't actually there.
Yeah, it just did not exist. Like
Okay.
the twist at the end that like, oh, is the guys from um Fast Four and Fast Five or whatever, plus the dude at the beginning of the movie who like helped him do that whole thing
Yeah.
basically, and you just don't know until you see them. Like it's like,
Yeah.
but why was it? And it was so hard for him to do it in the first place to get those 5 minutes. I'm gonna scream. Anyways, hands off.
Aside from that, though, we do have more important things to talk about. So
Yeah, sorry.
let's do that.
I do have a lot of problems with the script in general, and I could talk a lot about that. I don't know when we want to get into that.
We can talk about that now. Then, what are your script
Okay.
issues? I'm fascinated to hear them.
I mean, I am not a scriptwriter, as you know. That is not my
I had never
area.
heard that.
It's not my area of expertise. But this alludes to like the narrative parallel thing they were trying to pull off. And I think I talked to you on Twitter briefly about it. Where so in the very beginning we have Dom racing against this guy, this asshole who like swindled his cousin, and he's gonna take his car or whatever, and he races against him and he wins the race, and he's like, I'm gonna be nice and you can keep your car. And he
Dom's grown up. I don't think episode
these are Star Wars now.
Original film, right? I don't think first film Dom would have let him keep his car.
No way.
It's
Absolutely
interesting.
Not. Yeah.
But go on.
So he lets him keep his car, and later on, after Cypher has like gotten Dom or whatever, they have this conversation where Dom's like, I changed him basically, like by beating him and then allowing him to keep his car, he like changed that man as a person. Which like is highly unbelievable to me. Like that just doesn't make any sense. And at first you're just like, okay, whatever, like I guess for the sake of the movie we can just accept that. But the twist with both of the Shaws being good in the end hinges on us believing that other one. Because Dom, by trusting both Shaws, I think the script is trying to be like, oh, that's why they're good now and we should trust them.
Yeah.
But the other part wasn't believable, so I'm not going to believe this. And also, they killed people. They killed Han. Like,
yeah. I mean,
none of it makes sense.
And here's the interesting thing. So I'm thinking several things right now, and it's going to be a struggle to remember all of them because like 3 popped in my head all at once. So the first thing is that I do think that Dom, especially more as the series has progressed, has put more of an emphasis on like second chances. So like I think that's another like extension of like his growth as a character. Yeah, so that's why I think he did the thing with the guy with the car in the beginning.
Yeah.
Second, weirdly though, I would be more likely to not like actually, I don't know how to phrase this. Like, I don't actually believe, like, in universe, I don't actually believe that they would be able, that Dom changing Shaw would happen that quickly or anything.
Yeah.
Like, I don't actually believe that he would, like, turn back to the good side and they would be able to trust him that quickly.
Yeah.
But weirdly, I do think it makes more sense to me for some reason that would happen with the Shaws and not with the first guy. I don't know why. Maybe it's just because they're in the same kind of environment all the time, like this super fast-paced, high-stakes environment. But I don't know. No, but I mean, I still agree with you. Like,
yeah. No, but I kind of see where you're coming from, because like I think there's a parallel there too. Like we have the fam that are not blood related really, but are family, and then we have these literal 2 brothers, blood related, who are not necessarily close if we listen to one movie, but then they are in another movie. It's like kind of weird, their characterization.
Siblings
but this movie,
are like that.
That's true. That is true. But this movie is well on the like, he's your, like the mom says, like he's your brother. You have to take him with you. You have to do this thing. So that, you're right. That like part makes sense. Them working together for this mission.
I think maybe he could potentially like see a reflection of himself in Shaw, and maybe that's why that happens. Especially in light of the big reveal from the F9 trailer.
Yes, talk about that, Gavri. Gavri had this genius moment.
I would not call it genius. It was me
genius.
just like thinking about other things that had happened during the movie during one of the action scenes toward the end, and I was like, did they already know they were going to do this? Or is this just like hindsight is 2020 coming into the franchise towards the tail end? But there's this one point when Cypher is doing one of her many lectures to Dom about, like, you're going to do this for me and you're not going to complain about it because blah, 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 blah. And Dom makes some comment about, like, how family is the most important thing to him, as he is wont to do. And she's like, family's not the most important thing to you. I don't remember if she said, like, something's, no, basically, the gist of it was, right? She said, family's not the most important thing to you. And I was like, I wonder if that's because he hates his brother that we don't actually find out he has until the next movie. So, like, not that there's anything, like, much bigger other than that.
But it's that good foreshadowing.
But if especially if they already knew they were going to do that for the next film, that would be pretty good foreshadowing, yeah.
This is actually a good segue because I have no real evidence outside of the fact that. Here, I'll explain it. Hold on.
Before you do that, let me just say my favorite thing is when one of us says, I have no real evidence, but this is what's happening here.
But here we go. This is the truth. And we do that a lot.
It's like we're in a conspiracy video, except it's not Fast and Furious.
This is not actually an analysis podcast. We're just spouting conspiracy theories 24/7 instead.
It happens.
Okay, so Cypher is this movie's villain, obviously, right?
Yes.
And she's next movie's villain, the Nun. But this movie also established that technically she was the villain for many of the other movies.
Right.
In this series. In fact, basically like she's like the overarching villain of the Fast and Furious universe.
She's the Thanos of this franchise.
Yes, she is. And so I'm assuming that she's also going to be the villain for the, Fast 10 and Fast 11, which is the last two movies, right? Why did I wrote down my notes 4 movies as if they're not doing 4 more movies.
You were so sure.
Yeah. In all caps, 4 movies. No, so 9. Shows I guess the last 4 movies of the entire series. Maybe that's what I was referring to. And I'm just trying to figure out if that is true, how they're gonna extend that. Like, how are they gonna prolong her villain arc for 3 more movies, for 9, for 10, and for 11? Like, she's already been in this one. She's already fucked things up in the past, even though we didn't know about it. Are they just not going to take care of her in for 9? And from what I've read, this is just going off of Wikipedia, so maybe it is not correct, but Fast 10 and Fast 11 are actually like one movie split up into 2.
Okay.
So, I don't know. That's just a lot of Cypher. So that's my like theory, or I'm assuming that like she is going to be the villain, because it would be weird to kill off the overarching villain or like take care of the overarching villain in for 9 with 2 more movies to go. Because
again, as we talked about with the Avengers thing, like what do you do after that? Like how can you possibly escalate?
Yeah.
Aliens.
I
answered my own question.
Oh my god. And the way they keep Cypher in it is she's actually a Skrull in F10.
Yeah.
And they do go to space by F11.
And then Riddick shows up.
Yes. And it's the Spider-Man meme. Once again, if you're hiring.
We're here to help. But that's really the only thing I can think of that could possibly escalate it to a point where it would be like more intense and exciting if Cypher were to be killed off. And even if she's not killed off, like, you still have to do that. So
yeah, you still have to escalate as these movies.
I mean, we already had like the threat of nuclear annihilation in this movie. Like, what are you gonna do after this? I'm so
You know,
scared.
and strangely though, it never felt like a real threat just because, you trust the team so much,
Oh,
I
I
guess.
do. I'm like,
Because
they
it's
got
just like,
this. It's
oh,
fine.
whatever. It never really felt real.
Oh yeah, no. I was like, all right, they can handle this. I'm like, this is easy in comparison to some of the other stuff.
Where do they go? They have to go to space.
I think they do.
If Vin Diesel reads Facebook comments and brought Dwayne in by that, he needs to keep reading them and send them to the moon.
Right. Please.
Moon buggies.
Oh my god.
Right?
Yes. Death Race on the moon.
It would be beautiful.
Oh, sorry, not Death Race. Race Wars.
Race Wars.
Death Race is a totally different movie.
One more thing about Cypher. I have a lot of Cypher like thoughts, I guess, even though she's like kind of like a one-note villain because she's just
No, she very much is. She's like so focused.
Mm-hmm. This is like what I'm going to do and I'm going to do it, and I don't know, it's kind of boring, I guess. But she's supposed to be this like master hacker, right? But why does she keep having all of her interns do all the hacking? Like, I just thought that was kind of silly. Like, there's only one time where she actually hacks, and it's during the hack off with Ramsey. And she technically loses that, doesn't she? Or does Ramsey lose?
You know what? I honestly don't remember. So much was happening.
That's very fair.
I totally lost it.
As you said, lost the plot multiple times. And another thing, I guess, with Cypher, sorry, just getting all this out here all at once.
It's okay.
Is like, why is she suddenly going to all these lengths now? Like, as she's the overarching villain, right?
Mm-hmm.
Of this series. And arguably, I mean, I guess I haven't thought about the actual timeline, but it's got to be at least 5 years since the first time, like, she, like, came into the timeline to interact with events with Dom, right?
Right.
And then in F9, the little baby Brian is now a toddler, so it's been another few years. So she's like, she's doing suddenly everything all at once, but just in this movie, like making herself known and like stealing the nuclear weapon, or trying to. And what was she gonna? We never found out what she's gonna do with that. And then she waits a couple more. What is her MO? I don't get.
There's a lot of weird time shenanigans going on here. I think we do know why she took it. I think she did explain that. She said, like, it was to keep governments, like, so they knew that someone was out there and could, like, react if they, like, stepped out of line super hard or something. Yeah. But, like, I get what you're saying, though.
Yeah, because, like, her, front-facing character is just like, why is she doing this? She's so confusing. But that's she is a Cypher. But that's interesting. I think I missed that, or like sometimes she talks, and I love Charlize Theron, but her in this movie, I'm just like, what are you saying? What do you mean? What are you talking about? Because I completely missed that she was doing it to keep governments in line with her. I mean,
she could have been lying.
That's true. What was that with the whole... Okay, so the very first conversation she has with Dom, I think, is that the first one? About, like, fate in the very beginning. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I hope you remember that conversation, because I am Gandalf. I have no memory of this place.
I don't remember anything that happens in it, only because I couldn't make heads or tails of what they were saying. Again, I've seen this movie before. Didn't understand it then, didn't understand it now. I have no idea. It was like a conversation about like fate and how, like, oh, wasn't it fate that brought you here, Dom? Blah,
no, blah, blah. It wasn't fate. It was your machinations. And you know that because you planned it all. For God's sake.
And I was like, what was she? It just felt like a weird forced convo, and I wasn't sure what the point of it was and what she was trying to do and what it was trying to do for the plot. Like, evidently neither of us know because we don't remember. But yeah, Cypher's weird. Cypher's a weird character and a very different villain than the ones we've seen in the past in this series.
That's more, true, I think.
Like, oh, this is their goal, Cypher's like,
Yeah, I mean, I'd also argue that I think she's way more ideological
hmm,
or way more ideologically motivated, which
yeah,
is interesting too.
yeah, especially because like her and Dom are completely opposite in those ideals.
Yeah.
That's why I think in many ways she is a good villain, even though she's confusing to me personally.
She's like
Because
a good like foil.
yes, like the ultimate foil for Dom. Um, and I mean the family as a whole, I suppose, but
Yeah.
specifically Dom.
So speaking of that though,
Mhm.
like so when Dom basically turns on the fam and everything, like did
Yeah.
no one think that maybe like there was a reason he was doing it? Like none of them
Yeah.
stopped and actually were like, "Oh, she must have something on him because Dom would never do this." Like no
Yeah.
one no
Yeah.
one thought that.
I
That is the
mean,
most unbelievable part of this movie.
like at least like Letty
None of the
knew.
nuclear shit happened at the end. That is
Yeah.
the most unbelievable thing.
Like Letty, I think Letty knew that like because she kept saying like, oh, that's not Dom or whatever, but it was never
Yeah.
like like, oh, Dom would never do that without, XYZ, like what does she have on him or whatever.
Yeah.
It was just that's not the Dom I like
Like, okay.
well, let's follow that. Let's interrogate that. Why do you think, Letty, that that's not
Yes,
you know what I
buddy.
mean?
Hold on. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that you're very right. I don't get that. Like all of them were just like guess our best friend just betrayed us and we got to take him down. That sucks. None of them but like I don't know, believe Brian would have believed in him.
I know. And
Yeah.
I was thinking throughout the whole thing, I'm like, oh, wow, how would this movie have changed if Brian was there? Because Brian
Yeah.
would have immediately been like, she fucking did
Yeah.
something. Like,
She has some.
something is going on
Yeah.
because otherwise Dom would not do this. And you guys know that, and you're all fools. He would have spoken the truth.
He would have. They hated him for speaking the truth.
They did.
And I feel like Mia also probably would have. I don't know. I just find it weird
Oh,
that like
that's true too.
Letty
Yeah, how come she?
specifically.
Well, I was about to be like, how come Mia didn't get to be in the movie? But like, yeah, she's also retired. What am I saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
Duh.
Actually, I mean, we can continue talking about this too, but I also want to talk about like Fenine thoughts and why we think or how we think Mia is gonna be in the movie. Because she is a main character in Fenine,
Right.
which is
Interesting.
really interesting to me. And I'm just wondering how they're gonna spin that. But we can talk about that later. Fenine
Actually,
Mia.
I originally, sorry.
No, you're good.
Actually, I originally, when Dom was like, okay, like, fine, I'll help you, whatever. I originally thought I was like, okay, did she threaten like Brian and Mia or something? Like,
Oh, see
that's
that
what
would have
I just
yeah,
assumed it was because that makes more sense to me.
yeah,
Like I gotta help protect them and they're happy like a normal person life.
yeah. I mean,
But no. But
honest,
no.
yeah.
Suddenly, baby. What the
Like
fuck?
I almost wish that was the actual plot of Fate because her having stuff on Brian and Mia or like like just like weapons trained on them without them knowing makes so much more sense than a secret baby from Elena. No offense to the scriptwriters, but like they were really reaching, like
Yeah.
I think that was one of the number one complaints when this movie came out from like the fan
Really?
base.
Okay,
Yeah,
good.
yeah,
I don't
was
feel
that
so bad then.
yeah. They were like I mean, in many ways, like obviously you don't want to kill a baby. And I think Cypher
Right.
would
And
have done
like
it.
I literally thought they did too though for a
Oh,
second.
instead of the Elena.
I didn't realize at first that they had killed Elena. Instead I was like, did they just fucking shoot a baby in a Fast and Furious movie? Did they
We're like,
fucking
holy
kill
shit.
Dom's baby? When they're all about family in this franchise, they killed a baby? They did not kill a
They did not.
baby, dear listeners. That's not what happened. I'm just stupid.
That's
It was
really
a lot to deal with though. That was a lot to deal with.
yeah. Oh, I can imagine. That's like does the dog die.com, but does the baby die.com? I don't think that's ever happened in a movie.
Somehow even worse vibes.
Yeah, but I think that if my memory serves, that was one of the number one complaints. Like, again, you don't want to kill the baby, but also like, why would Dom drop everything for a woman he in the movies have led us to believe he just doesn't like love as really hasn't seen in like a year maybe
Yeah.
based on the baby and what she looked like when they left. And how does he know that that's actually his baby? Why would he believe Cypher if he didn't know that Elena was even you know what I mean? Like, it's a weird.
And that's a good point too. Yeah, that's a good point too.
The motivations in this movie are very strange.
This was a bad choice, but I do, obviously Dom is so family motivated that like the instincts kicked in immediately and he didn't have time to think about it.
He just had to agree. Yeah.
Oh, did we really talk about Shaw as much as you wanted to?
I was just going to say there's just, I think, one more thing that as we were talking about the baby, I remembered.
Okay.
The barbecue.
Oh, okay.
That's actually the second thing that I remember people, myself included, being like pissed about this movie. I mean, the baby thing was more like, that doesn't make sense, but this people were like angry about. Like, there was a whole, this is where the whole Justice for Han hashtag came about.
Oh, okay.
Was because the end of the movie, Deckard Shaw delivers the baby to Dom, and then he stays for the family barbecue and says grace with them and everything, and like, that's like the fam barbecue, which has become sacred in the fandom's eyes as like a fam thing. And this man who murdered a bunch of people, including Han, is just suddenly allowed there because he saved one baby.
Yeah, I mean, but it's Dom's baby.
I know.
So, like, that's like saving 50 babies. Yeah. Obviously.
Yeah, Brian.
But I get what you're saying. But I was thinking something similar, not about the barbecue so much, which you make excellent points. Mostly that you were right. They rehabbed Shaw's personality like so quick. Like he's much more like fun in this movie, and like he's on board with the team like right away, which is interesting. Like maybe they didn't think they had enough time to develop all of that. I don't know. Like they had to do it real quick. But babies will do that. Men interacting with babies will rehab their image pretty quick.
It's true. Literally that one baby scene, like, I think that's the best scene in the movie, arguably.
It was so funny.
Yeah.
He puts the headphones on and he's like, are you doing okay? And the baby's like laughing and he winks at the baby. Like that was actually great.
And he even says there's that one
thing
point
was great.
Where he goes, were you gonna shoot at the baby? Like, and then he kills the guy because the guy was gonna go and shoot and kill it, and he's like, what the fuck? That's exactly what you said.
So he's been theoretically they wanted him to be redeemed in the eyes of the audience by being A, funny, and B, saving a baby, which like kind worked for me.
Yeah, it worked for me by the end of that. Yeah,
I just in general don't feel as strongly about the Shaw personality swap as I know many people in the fandom do.
Totally fair. Especially again, it's pretty effective, the baby scene. Personally, even though I don't like Shaw, like it's a good scene. You had mentioned like maybe they didn't have enough time to develop him as like a better person in the script, right, or in the movie.
I did feel like there were way fewer like character moments, quote unquote, in this one than there have been in past films. So maybe having like one or two more of those would have helped. But I meant it more in the context of like, I think normally there would be a whole like, normally there would be like a whole movie in between the last one and this one where he was rehabbed.
Yes, I
but they
completely
couldn't
agree.
do that. Oh, you know what? I wonder if that had to do, one of the reasons he was so majorly in it and everything was because Paul Walker died.
And they needed someone else
He
to,
kind of like steps into
that role.
Because you know, if Brian had been in this movie, he would have been in the one in the plane rescuing the baby.
Oh, 100%.
Like,
yeah.
I'm pretty sure. So
Definitely.
maybe that has something to do with it too. So they need to kind of like bring another person in. So they just accelerated it.
That's a good point. And I wonder with the timeline of things if Hobbs and Shaw had already been greenlit at that point, and they were trying to like Hobbs and Shaw the movie, the spinoff. Because they do pretty effectively try to ramp up that relationship in this movie. But I'm not sure. It might have been a response to this movie. I don't know. I'd have to look into that. Like when they decided to make.
To find out.
And I was also gonna say, I recently watched the Zack Snyder cut of Justice League. And I don't know if you've heard anything about that, Gabs, or watched the original Justice League movie. It's just
neither.
Okay. You don't really need to know much to understand what I'm gonna say, but it's just like insane how different those two movies are, even though they use a lot of the same footage. I'm specifically thinking of the final battle scene. I went back and like rewatched the original one, Justice League, and it's like some of them, those scenes are like the exact, like you can see it's the exact same scene, but with different music, different context. It's crazy, and it makes me think like we've been attacking this just from like a narrative point of view from all the movies that we've analyzed. But there's a lot we don't know about movie production, such as like literally the editing. There's probably so much on the cutting floor. I bet
definitely
there are scenes that would have made me appreciate the Shaw brothers' actions in this movie a lot more. That like they had to cut for time. Like I'm sure they exist. Like 90% sure.
I could definitely believe that. That's really interesting. Yeah. Now I kind of want to watch both Justice League and the Snyder Cut just to see like how, because I know also that like
I recommend
studios have a lot of say over like the final cut of films, which I think was the whole starting point for this controversy anyway. So I also wonder like how that's at play in like other movies. So
it's crazy. Like this is literally like opened my eyes. Absolutely crazy. Like Zack Snyder's that 4-hour Justice League movie, it is such a good movie and completely different. Like
interesting.
It's like I was like, wow, this is a really good movie. Where when I came out of Justice League, I was like, that was really bad. Like
oh boy.
Yeah. So it's a lot to watch for you. Like that's probably like 6 hours. You do it on separate days, obviously split it up, but it's so worth it, I think. At least the Zack Snyder cut version.
I'll keep that in mind.
But anyways, this is not about. I guess we could do a Justice League episode. I don't know if I want to rewatch those 4 hours. As good as it was.
That'd be a lot.
Do you have anything else that you want to add though? OC3 writes with Ramsey, Tej, and Roman. That was such a good moment. I know she meant it to like tease them. Like, I like both of you.
But you were like, okay.
Yeah, but I was like, good, okay, she likes both of them. She has two hands.
My final thought, and I will do some more thinking about this just because, or like reading online to see if anyone's written about this, but thinking back to like our short discussion about the second chances and everything,
yes,
I'm wondering how much of that also has to do with Dom's religion, because like he's Catholic, right?
Yes,
like he's actually, I don't know how actually religious he is, but like culturally, I think he's in it. And he says grace, like that's a huge part of the family barbecue. That's definitely. Like a whole thing. So like I wonder how much that complicates everything, and it's a really interesting, and I would like to know more about that.
I really love that. I mean, you're so right. You have the saying grace. You have when him and Letty got married, that was, I mean, it wasn't like a traditional wedding, obviously, but it was in a church, very intimate, and he has that cross that like he uses to like protect people, basically, like literally in this movie.
It was integral in this one. So like, I wonder if they just don't want to like if the writers just don't want to like beat people over the
it.
head with it.
Yeah.
But it's more like a subtly like, oh yeah, by the way, like reminder that like, you know, Dom is, you know, kind of religious, and so he's ultimately gonna do the right thing.
I feel like that is deserving of a whole paper, to be honest, like a whole ass essay or article. Like, that's so interesting. I'm not saying that you have to do it, even though you're particularly suited for it. But,
I know. I would actually love to, but those
interested.
dates are behind me.
No longer an essay writer. Yeah, insanely interesting. I think you're very much right. Like, that's gotta be affecting everything that he does. Literally.
Yeah.
Man.
So I will go see if anyone else has already written this, because I'm late to the game.
Well, that about wraps it up then. I don't know why I have an accent now. Thank you guys for listening to our Fate of the Furious episode. Again, we'll figure out when we're gonna do F9. I think last time I looked, Gabs, it was supposed to come out at the end of June, maybe.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
We'll see. So we have a little bit of time in between. We have some ideas floating around for what we're gonna do in those interim months, but again, we'll let you guys know. Check us out on Twitter or Instagram. We'll probably tweet about it instead of posting on Insta, I would assume. But
yeah,
we're in both places, so.
Now I'll have my people get in touch with your people to figure out what's happening.
Perfect. Yeah. Gabri she doesn't actually talk to me. We we have secretaries.
Yes.
That's it. Thank you guys for listening.
And until next time, AvengeGirls out.